Welcome to Cooperative Chats, the Cooperative Trust biweekly live chat show. Cooperative Chats is dedicated to all the emerging leaders and rising talent in the credit union space. And our goal is to bring you interesting, raw, and really thoughtful conversations every bi-weekly. So be sure to subscribe to our channel and give each of our episodes a thumbs up. That way you can stay up to date on all of our upcoming episodes. My name is Courtney Angeli, and I'm the Director of Community Development for Filene Research Institute. And what that means is I have the great honor and privilege of engaging with emerging leaders and young professionals across North America to help inspire them, help them grow their networks, and to help them really feel cemented into the credit union industry. And I started my my career in finance as a young professional. I would still consider myself as a young professional. Yeah. And I was also a crasher too, which I'm super excited because we have a past crash mentor as our guest, which you can see. Emily Leach is here with us. So we have a new theme this month, and we're doing this episode a little bit differently. We had some technical glitches yesterday. So it is actually Thursday. And it's actually July 2nd, not July 1st, but that's totally fine. We roll with the punches here. And so because it's a new month, we have a new theme. And the theme for this month is thought leadership. And wow, I know this is totally a loaded topic, but we have the best person here to help us break it down. And we're going to just go into it. We're going to dive in. We're going to talk about what it is. And then we're really just going to talk about how we know whether or not we exhibit those characteristics, how to point it out in other people, and really just taking some action steps on how we could potentially become thought leaders if that's something that we want to become better at. So I will go ahead and let you introduce yourself, Emily. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and also share one thing that defines you outside of your profession.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Courtney. I'm so excited to be here today. I am currently the Chief of Staff to the Visa CEO, Al Kelly, and I've been at Visa for 5 years. I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary on June 8th. So big milestone. I'm super proud to be with Visa for that long. And I moved into this role last October. So I'm coming up on my 1-year mark. Before this role, I had roles across the business. So I started out in our community sales organization supporting credit unions that are present today. And then I transitioned into management on the sales team and then moved into our client services division, which is our operational hub of Visa. So everything technical and BIN management related, if you will, falls to the client services umbrella. So with that, I have spent the last 9 months or so as Chief of Staff to Al, and really have acted as the go-between for the business and Al as CEO. So I manage and lead all of the key strategic projects and initiatives that are across the company. I also then work behind the scenes to help the business solve a lot of problems, issues, challenges that we're facing, such as COVID and the environment that we're in today. Yeah. So it's been a wild ride. It's been such a learning curve for me and just a great opportunity to dig deep into my career as well. So that's my background. Before I jump into my personal side, if you will, and what defines me, I thought I would just give everybody the definition of what a Chief of Staff is. Yes. Because I often get that question. And so that's the Chief of Staff generally works behind the scenes to solve problems, lead projects, identify trends or potential issues before they get to Al as CEO. So that is, I think, the biggest role and responsibility of a Chief of Staff for any company. And then behind the scenes, you also act as a confidant and advisor. So it's been great to be an ear and a support to Al and be a sounding board for him as we navigate both the general company, but also, again, the current environment that we sit in. So that's the background and definition of Chief of Staff. A little bit about me personally, I thought I would give you some characteristics that some of my friends and family define me as. So 3 characteristics. They say that I'm loyal, I'm upbeat, and I'm honest. Outside of work, I love to ride the Peloton. I got that at Christmas this past year, which was the perfect time to go into shelter in place. And then since I'm based in San Francisco, I've become a bit of a wino by drinking a lot of wine up in Napa.
Oh, I'm a big fan of wine. I think I was recently telling you that I have also taken a couple of online wine folly classes since we've been in a
Yes.
shelter in place. So really trying to evolve my palate and learn a little bit more about wines and all those flavors, which is a lot more in depth than I had ever imagined.
I don't know anything really. I just like to drink it.
I mean, that's really the outcome, right? All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. We're going to start with defining thought leadership. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and provide a definition. And then Emily, if you could go ahead and add on to that definition with anything else that you think could enhance it and just kind of help our learning as we go. But here we are. A thought leader is a person who is an expert in their field and anticipates what's ahead and can get people to follow that vision.
So to add on to that, completely agree with the definition. Believe that thought leaders are trustworthy professionals. They're great sources of inspiration, and they turn ideas into realities. And then just some supplemental things that have been specific to my time as a thought leader across my time at Visa and in my career, but also definitely in this role as chief of staff. Thought leaders, to me, also recognize trends before they happen. And so then they're able to redirect, reinforce, or stop the direction of a project or task. They offer insight and an informed point of view, often led by the data. So that's been a huge theme for me in this role, is to follow the data, dig into it, understand the gaps, understand what the story is telling you. So follow the data and trust it. And then the fourth piece there for me is also just building a collaborative team. So as a thought leader, it's not about you as a solo individual, it's about the community that surrounds you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we talk about thought leadership a lot. And when I say we, I mean the collective financial services industry, I mean the business industry, you know, everyone. Thought leadership is a really, I don't know if I'd call it a buzzword, but it's a hot topic. So I'm really curious, why do we talk about thought leaders the way that we do? And should we talk about thought leaders the way that we do?
So it's a funny question, and it's one that I've thought a lot about. To me, thought leadership is content or engagement. It's a white paper, it's an article, it's a podcast or a TED Talk in which a thought leader, who we have classified as such, provides an expertise or point of view. But anybody can be a thought leader. We often, I think, have defined thought leaders as celebrities, politicians, people with a strong social media presence or following. And to me, that doesn't have to be the case. And a social media following is a byproduct of a strong thought leader. It's not the end goal or the end result. And so just as a couple examples that you and I had talked about, that I think are popular thought leaders in today's environment are individuals like Brene Brown or Oprah.
Yeah.
And that's because they have chosen to lead with their expertise, their knowledge, their experience in life and their career. And so they have decided to share that with others, and therefore their content and their perspective has become thought leadership.
So I'm going to press you a little bit because I would classify you also as a young and emerging leader in the world. And you are looked at as a thought leader. You're very welcome. You are looked at as a thought leader to the CEO of Visa, which is one of the world's largest and well-known companies. I mean, it's a pretty powerful place to be in. How have you leaned into that sort of, I would say not necessarily a title, but how have you leaned into that role since you've been asked to be a chief of staff?
Yeah, it's definitely been something that has been elevated in this role, just sheerly based off of the high profile sense that this role provides. But I take it always back to the basics. And so for me, it's about building trust and being a collaborative partner. So a lot of what I do as chief of staff is represent Al, And so I always hold that with the utmost responsibility, and try to come at a problem with new ideas, new solutions, and really just lean into that with my business partners. The other side that this role has really just reinforced for me is keeping people informed. That in this role, I have access to more information, more perspectives, more expertise. I often have joked that, you know, now in this role, I can quickly get a response from my teammates just based off of the title and the role.
Yeah.
And so with that, you know, when possible, and if I am able to share it, it's not a confidential nature of any kind, keeping the team informed and leading them to, you know, predict the future, if you will. So that's really how I've tackled my thought leadership in this role.
That's awesome. And this theme is something, you know, you just touched on this, and this has come up quite a bit with the cooperative trust, and that is anticipating what's ahead. What are some ways that you do that yourself to help really support Al in the work that he does?
I read a ton of articles. I listen to podcasts. I listen to him. So, you know, I'm not able to be in every meeting that he sits in, but, you know, being a confidant and an advisor to him, you know, oftentimes we talk about things. We talk about the current environment with COVID. We talk about the current environment, you know, with racial inequality and the social injustices in the world. And so with that, having, you know, a two-way dialogue has been a huge part for me in this role, so that I'm staying educated and top of mind with what he's aware of, and then also then doing a lot of research behind the scenes through multiple avenues to make sure that I'm keeping up with the latest guidance.
Awesome. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, just so that way our listeners can also get a taste of how they can begin to spot this style of leadership in others and perhaps themselves, if this is something that they think that they're starting to, you know, build up some of these qualities. And it's just the question in and of itself. So what are some qualities in a thought leader that are really easy to spot?
Yeah, this is my favorite question, because it's something that I think I've been very intentional in my career in looking to develop young talent. And so some of the ones that are top of mind to me is that exact word there, being intentional. I want someone that raises their hand, is genuine and authentic in stepping up and taking on more responsibility, but that raises their hand to engage. I want somebody that wants to become a part of the conversation. It's all about, as I mentioned, that two-way dialogue. So I get as much out of it as they do. And so, you know, learning from each other and sharing knowledge and insight, I think has been a huge thing that I've looked for in others. Respectfulness as well comes with that. So as you advance in your career, you always leading with authenticity, genuineness, but also just true respect are things that I have looked for. And then I jotted down a few other things that I thought were good reminders for people that are seeking out thought leaders. And that is, don't look at the title. A thought leader can be anyone. It doesn't have to be someone that sits with chief of staff as their title, or CEO, or Oprah. You know, anyone can demonstrate their thought leadership. Look for people that are the natural leader on the team. Again, some of the attributes that we talk about, raising their hand, giving feedback. I think that's a huge one for me as well. A lot of the conversations that I've had with young leaders in my career, one of the themes that has popped up is just being scared to raise their voice or share their opinion. And I encourage them to do that. They have a perspective, and it's one that we want to hear about. So being a part of the conversation, sharing your opinion, demonstrates a natural leadership and that you want to engage and be a part of the solution to the problem. And then the last tip that I thought about was really just thought leaders to me are individuals that can pivot easily and adapt. So they can juggle a lot of responsibilities. They can move from one topic to the next. And so someone that can balance those priorities and determine, what is the most critical to take and put their focus on, I think is something that I look for as well.
And what a key factor to really building a capacity for strategic thinking as well, is being able to do that in and of itself, which is really, really cool to think about, especially if you're not even thinking about building up your strategic capacity, but just knowing that if you're building up your thought leadership capacity, you are probably also doing the other thing too, which is kind of like a double whammy, win-win.
Exactly.
Which is so awesome. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the last word. Are there any final thoughts on thought leadership that you want to leave with the Cooperative Trust community today?
I do. So I want to just leave everyone with a bit of encouragement. So find your purpose and passion, become an expert or authority in that, and be true to yourself. Be who you are. Be consistent in that. Hold firm to your beliefs. Hold firm to your high performance, and get your voice out. Share it. Participate. Do your research always. Make sure that it's backed by the data, and always come prepared for meetings, for conversations, for networking, any kind of thing. Just do a little bit of research before any session, and come prepared with a few questions to have a two-way dialogue. And then the last thing that I would say is, as a conclusion, thought leadership to me is an ultimate expression of who you are. So cement your reputation and underline your expertise, and the following, if you will, that generally comes with thought leadership will come naturally.
Awesome. Well, I can't really paraphrase that any more beautifully than how you said it. So what I would recommend is that if you're listening, definitely just fast forward through some of this after you watch it, of course, fully the first time. And anytime you're about to go out to a networking event or just start a meeting, just watch the end of this. And that's going to be your formula for hitting it out of the park every single time. All right. Well, Emily, thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure to have you. So thank you so much for being here. And for everyone else listening, just want to remind you all that we'll be back again on July 15th. Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Central. This time around, we will be having the president of the African American Credit Union Coalition, Renee Sadie-White, as our guest. So we hope that you can join us on Wednesday live at 1:30 p.m. Until then, we hope everyone has a safe and healthy 4th of July, and we'll see you all in a couple weeks.
Be well.